Public service announcement. I'm about to say the most controversial take there's ever been. Like, no one has ever thought of a take as controversial as what I'm just about to say. And that is that I hate AI. I hate AI. I know. You probably hate AI too. Maybe you don't. I feel like people are divided in two camps. People either love AI. They're like, it's the greatest invention that there's ever been. It's our version of the car. It's our version of the wheel. Not even, it's our version of fire. And then there's other people, which I'm very lucky to be surrounded with a lot more of. But those are the people that just fucking hate AI. And it's not, okay, when I'm referring to AI in this conversation, I'm referring to generative AI. I mean, your OpenAI, your ChatGPT, your whatever the one that makes videos of Jake Paul is called. The one that created the AI actress. That kind of AI. And in saying this, I also think AI might save us all. Please don't click off. I swear I have a point to make, and it's not an original idea. It's just me adding onto a conversation that's already happening. So, a couple of days ago, a significant couple of days ago, I saw this TikTok where this guy was talking about how, and this is me paraphrasing him. So if you've seen the video and you remember it differently to how I remember it, you might be right. Like, I haven't rewatched this video. I don't even know if I saved it, but I've just been thinking about it for a while. So Mr. Man, Revolutionary Hot Take, said that now we're entering a time where artificial intelligence is becoming so competent that it's hard to distinguish between what's actually real and what's not. It's becoming harder. Like, we're at a point where we can still look at something and be like, yeah, that's AI. Sometimes it's a bit difficult, but we are soon approaching a time where you just won't be able to tell apart what's real and what's not, which is a bit problematic. It's very problematic. I feel like a lot of people are afraid of that because obviously, but the way that this guy framed it, and I personally think he was onto something, but he said that in the near future, when it gets to the point where we can't distinguish between what's real and what's fake, social media becomes obsolete. What point is it to consume content of someone's life, of your friends, of your family, if you don't even know if it's actually them? Like, everyone will just assume that everything is fake, so there's no point in consuming content anymore. Also, by the way, if my face goes super dark and then it goes bright again, it's because my laptop screen, she gets tired, so she just goes to sleep, but we have to wake her up, so it's super fine. I'm just letting you know that's what's up with the lighting situation. We have a little flag bouncing off the light that's in the background. It's actually not, it's just the screen of my computer. I was just trying to be cool and like use film terms and whatever. Anyway, that's besides the point. I think he might be right. And with the oversaturation of artificial intelligence in our media, and if it does come to a point where social media doesn't serve a purpose anymore, not from an information gaining standpoint, not from a social standpoint, because everything is fucking AI, I feel like we will revert to trusted, more grounded ways of communicating and of consuming media. I'm part of Gen Z, in case you couldn't tell. And if you couldn't, that's so rude. In either direction. Guys, I have a swivel chair. Point is, as a Gen Zer, I've noticed amongst my peers that a lot of us revert back to more nostalgic / traditional / analog ways of consuming media. A lot more people gravitate towards wire headphones as opposed to AirPods, as one example. So many people listen to vinyls, so many people have CDs or cassettes. A lot of people still prefer physical books to Kindles. I know a lot of people who collect DVDs and who prefer to watch movies that way. Most of all, there's definitely been a pull in that direction over the past few months. And I believe that if AI continues to go at this rate that we see it evolving now, we will just get fed up with living in a state of perpetual deception, or worse, I guess, perpetual questioning of what's real and what isn't. Because as insightful that is into personal development and intellectual growth, it's equally, if not more, exhausting. Already I'm starting to see the effects of looking at videos online or reading stuff and not knowing whether it's real or not because of any human tampering with the information, but because there's freaking engines out there just generating stuff. And this is why at the beginning of the video, I made the distinction between AI and generative AI, because I believe in some way there are beneficial uses of artificial intelligence. This is a very tricky topic because I feel like with the way that things are developing at the moment, I would rather just be anti-AI as a whole, because I do believe that a radical opinion is easier to put forth and also easier to take action on. But if we're going into the nuance, I do think that there's uses of AI, and there are many ways in which AI can benefit society if it's regimented. And I feel like what's going on right now, there's no rules in place, there's no regulations, there's no limitations, which on one hand, we can't even blame the corporations for not including, because of two reasons. The first one that they would like us to believe is because AI is new. People are still trying to figure out the ethics around using it, or allowing it freedom to do whatever the fuck it wants to do. But more poignantly, because big corporations and billionaires and people in power benefit from the masses using artificial intelligence because it makes us dumber. ChatGPT removes our ability to question, our ability to look for an answer. And I've spoken a bit more about this in last week's video, which is here. Should be there. But if it's on the other side, no, it's on that side. So if you're interested in delving deeper into that discussion alongside me, do give that video a watch, a listen. But the point is, for the ruling class, artificial intelligence is exceptionally convenient because not only are they in charge of it in a lot of ways that matter, it's also a tool that allows them to control everyone else better. Because whenever someone is addicted or dependent on something, they become very malleable to other forces. If you're used for every query to just hop on ChatGPT and give it a little click and a little answer, you will find it very difficult to function without it, as it's an instantly gratifying system. You have a question, you get an answer instantly. You have a very ultra specific, very, very particular to your case question that no one else could answer for you. You put it into ChatGPT and you get an answer. The quality of that answer is highly debatable. And even this habit of asking the most random trivial questions to ChatGPT, guys, pick up the phone and call your parents, call your friends, call anyone, call the local librarian. Don't even call, just go to the corner store and ask the guy. He's gonna tell you how to turn on your washing machine. And even in saying that, being grounded and not using AI takes a lot more effort than using it. which is why it's so prevalent, because it's convenient. And again, I have touched upon this last week, but we are entering an era of hyper-convenience where everything has to be pre-packaged, pre-processed, pre-arranged for our instant consumption, both in food, utensils, everything, objects, whatever, but more importantly, information. I've seen so many 1-minute TikTok videos where someone's just talking about a situation and all the comments are like, oh, girl, get to the point already. It's 60 seconds. And you also have the little X2 times 2 speed thing. But people's patience, people's attention span is highly decreasing. People's expectation for an instant answer is highly increasing. So yeah, AI is at the forefront of many aspects of society, which is why it will continue to evolve. And I think it will continue to evolve up to a point where the distaste for it is so high that we might just be willing to give up the very harmful forms of technology that we all acknowledge exist at the moment. Because I don't know how else, as a society at large, we would agree to stop consuming short-form content. In my eyes, those are activities that we're all hyper-aware of as negative, that they don't benefit us as much as they harm us in a lot of ways, but it's easier said than done to just disconnect. So if it comes to a point where social media... Did you see that fly? If it comes to a point where social media use is irrelevant, as nothing that you see is real, and there is no way for you to find out whether or not it's real, I feel like we would see a major shift in what content is made, how it's made, why it's made, and especially what's consumed. Because those two things don't happen in a vacuum. What is consumed informs what is created. So from a content creation standpoint, even now, I see a big return to long-form videos. Hello, you are clearly eager to be more grounded when consuming content. Because scrolling on TikTok is one form of escapism, a very weak one, where you feel more anxious and oddly self-aware afterwards. Whereas, at least from my experience, consuming YouTube videos feels so much more grounded, and it still satisfies that desire to consume other people's content and to connect to people in a different way. But the dopamine release is slower in one way or another. I'm not saying AI can't do long form. It probably can, but I'm not trying to give it ideas. But it's different to spend time with people. But it's still different. And even if YouTube goes obsolete in the near future, which I sure hope it doesn't, but if it does, it would just be a reflection of people's sentiment of sickness towards content creation as a whole. I do think that the revival that we are witnessing of physical media and people actually owning media, because that's another thing, and it's a bit separate to the AI conversation, but everything is digitalized and virtually we own nothing. Like if you own a Kindle and you buy all your books online, you don't actually really own those books. If your Kindle goes missing, so does your entire library. All the music that you listen to, I have Spotify Premium, and I love my playlists, and I love Spotify, and I love that I have access to all the music ever released ever. But my subscription doesn't actually mean I own the music that I listen to, whereas 20 years ago, for me to have the same listening privileges, I would need to buy a shit ton of CDs that I would stock and I would physically own. The same with movies. What if Netflix closes down? What if Amazon closes down? What if HBO or Max or whatever the fuck it's called now shuts down? All of the movies that you've ever consumed, you don't actually own them, despite paying money to see them. And again, in the movie conversation, you could argue that cinemas do the same thing. Like, you pay money, you go see the film, but you don't actually own it. But it's just like, we are just returning to a point where people crave the tangible aspect of the media. I shaved my legs yesterday, by the way. They're very smooth. I've had such a long day and it's late at night, so I feel very distracted. I don't even know if I'm coherent enough to make any sense. But the thing is, I tend to look at AI very negatively. I don't feel impressed by what it's doing. It's not necessarily that I even feel threatened about my potential career choices in the future, because I know that's a main point of conversation, because people's jobs are being threatened. To me, it's more that I think AI is being used for the wrong things. I think there's a lot of systems that can be automated. There's a lot of manual labor that could be done by AI in a way that would facilitate the people doing that labor now to do their jobs, not replace their jobs. I don't think AI has a place in creativity. Creativity is something so inherently human, and it's something that all humans do. And in order for creativity to be successful, it needs to come from the heart, from the soul, from lived experiences, which are all things that AI can't have and won't ever have, just because it's a set of data, and all the emotions or the experiences that it has is just strings of numbers, which, unless you believe in the Matrix, is not what the human experience is like. I don't think AI can make good art. I don't think it can make art at all. And I think that is where my issue lies, is the fact that those are the fields that are first thought of as worthy of infiltrating the arts. Because it's easy for AI to generate an image or something that looks like a painting, or write a poem. But it is inherently inept at doing any of those things in any form of good quality, because at the core of it, they are devoid of lived experience. As I was saying, despite my distaste for artificial intelligence, but specifically generative AI, this theory by Mr. Man, whose name is escaping me, is giving me hope in a twisted way. I've sort of lost the hope of being able to stop AI, not that it was ever in my power. And now I'm at peace with letting it develop. Like, go ahead. You think you can create paintings? Go ahead. People think that AI can replace writers or actors. Go ahead. Go ahead, try, do it. And I just know that it won't be successful, or we'll get to a point where people are just so sick of it that we all go offline. I know this is quite an extremist take, I am very aware, but like, AI doesn't exist outside of here. You know? Here, it doesn't exist. Like, okay, except for like the AI fridges. I think I love that I'm the first one in my whole entire family lineage to have ever uttered those words, unless my mom's onto something with AI fridges. By the way, this is weird. This is like a little parentheses. Why? Genuine question. Because usually the younger generations, they're more accustomed to like change and whatever, and being more open-minded and more accepting, whereas the older generation, they're like set in their views and they're like, yeah, this is my life, this is how I like it, and they're more conservative, right? Pretty standard way of being. Why? Genuine question. Like, I don't know. Someone tell me, why is it that my parents and grandparents and people from their generation are infinitely more welcoming by artificial intelligence than people in my generation. People in my generation fucking hate AI. A lot of them. A lot of them. I know even people in my course, some people will mention AI positively or use AI for their presentation, and people in my course would just like, no. And to me, that makes me so happy because sometimes I feel a bit radical in my opinion, even though, like, at the start of this video, that was an exaggeration. I think people generally don't really like AI, or the people that I surround myself with, at least. But why is it easier for like a boomer to accept AI than it is for them to accept a queer person? Genuinely. Honestly, why? Is it because they're like so fascinated by it? Like, I don't understand. Someone please riddle me this, like, genuinely. Maybe I'm being silly, but like, tell me. I gotta know. I gotta know. I wish AI the best of luck. Go on. Dominate every field. Because maybe that will finally be the move to getting us offline, or at least more offline than we are now. I feel like people crave that. I feel like people do. And it's easier to say, like, oh, I'll just go off socials and stuff. But it's a lot harder to do. And over the past few weeks, because during the summer, for like the last month of summer, I wasn't really on my phone at all or on social media, just because I was working and my schedule was intense. Like, I would work 12-hour days, 5 days a week, sometimes more than 12 hours. But it's the grind, it's the film industry. That's what we do. It's fine. I loved it. But it meant that I had less time to be on my phone. So I consumed a lot less social media. And the weeks after that, I was still sort of disconnected. I had a lot of stuff to do, moving back to London, blah, blah, blah. But then over the past 2 weeks, as I've settled into my London routine, as I've settled into my last year of film school routine, I've just resorted to a higher usage of social media. And lo and behold, I've noticed my mental health declining rapidly. I feel like I'd gotten to a point where I was super satisfied with my life. I was very locked in. And I feel like I'm still riding that wave in big part. But there are elements where I do feel myself comparing myself more than I've gotten accustomed to as of late. Which is all 100% because of social media, like 1,000%. And I am aware about it. But again, it's one thing to be like, hey, this sucks. Oh, I need to quit social media. Or, oh, I don't want to be online anymore. I'm going to set a time limit, blah, blah, blah. I have a fucking time limit. I have a 30-minute time limit, I think. Can I show you? This is my Instagram time limit, my TikTok time limit. Does that mean I don't go on the apps even after my time limit is ended? No, I still do. There's you press the button and it gives you 15 more minutes. But I know my friends that have apps where you need to put in a password to get access to Instagram, because otherwise it's just so impulsive. And there's so many times where I'm like, oh my God, I need to check the forecast for tomorrow. And I pick up my phone, and instead of going to the weather app, I instinctively go to Instagram. I've also, okay, in fairness, I've also started doing that with letterboxd. I'm just such a nerd, guys. I'm just so cool. No, but I don't, if I ever put a time limit on my letterboxd, that's how you know it's bad. It's bad. I just love letterboxd. All my friends are on letterboxd. But this is not about I feel like I always find a way to bring letterboxd into the conversation. It's very difficult for us to just quit social media. A lot of us have jobs that depend on it. A lot of us, for example, without social media, I wouldn't be able to communicate to all my friends that are back home. So it's very much a good thing in a lot of ways. But I feel like if AI destroys it all for us and we're forced to go offline and we're forced to call each other on the phone instead of send memes to one another, or we're forced to, I don't know, send each other letters, go back to snail mail. There's been such an uprise in snail mail, like communities and just people posting stuff. I love sending letters. I love sending postcards. I've been doing it for years, and I'm so glad the more people are getting into it, because nothing beats the joy of receiving a letter in the mail and to touch something that someone else has touched. And it's just like so lovely. I'm definitely seeing a return to more traditional ways of communicating and of keeping in touch, and people just going outside and people having phoneless days. So I really think that at this rate, AI could help us get back to our normal lives by becoming so insufferable that we just decide to shut it down. So yeah, that's my take, or at least my take on someone else's take, because whoever came up with that, genius. Genius, you've given me hope, you've given me optimism. You have taken away from my horizonlessness. You have given me hope. We can pause it there. We can park it there. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for hanging out with me. I should not have access to a swivel chair. It just makes everything so much more fun. As always, my favorite part about making these videos is swiveling in my chair. No, I'm kidding. Is hearing what you thought about what I thought, about what other people thought. This is a joy of social media that I think I would find it hard to part with. Yeah, AI isn't welcome on YouTube. So any AI companies that are thinking of putting their ads in my videos or before my videos, don't. I don't need your money. I'm good. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, to be honest. Anyway, thanks for spending time with me. Let me know if you love AI secretly and you just were afraid to admit it, but this is a safe space. You can let us know that you love AI. It might be the last thing you say though, but no, I'm kidding. We're all allowed different opinions, and I just can't wait to hear what you think. I'll see you maybe next week. Sending you lots of love. Bye. How do I turn this off?